Welcome back to The Full View. Ahead of the President's address tonight, business organisations and those in tourism and hospitality have been pleading with the government not to impose harsher lockdown measures. Business Unity South Africa says the economy is already on its knees. Many restaurants and liquor outlets have been struggling to recover after previous harder lockdowns. And the Restaurant Association has been appealing for a meeting with the President this weekend. Liquor traders have also warned that the industry cannot afford another hard lockdown. To discuss, we're joined by the CEO at the Restaurant Association of South Africa, that's Wendy Alberts. We're also joined by the CEO of the South African Liquor Brandowners Association, SALBA, that's Kurt Moore. Thank you both for being with us. Ms. Alberts, you've been calling for a meeting with restaurants. Have there been any engagements at all?
You know, while we understand that there's a massive concern over the emergence of the new variant, Omicron, and the scientists need time to actually understand the implication, the consequences it has. I think the irresponsible way that it's been handled has really put our industry under pressure, and we once again finding ourselves in a vulnerable space. We want to understand why government has not adequately prepared for this position. It's been coming for a while. We keep talking about the threat of the next waves. We're constantly talking about the fact that we're going to go into lockdown. And if these moments have been predicted, why wasn't the country adequately prepared? We sit on the brink again of the festive season, a critical time for us to use this as a platform to mediate and remedy the financial resources that we can to bring income for ourselves to be able to sift through this the time. We have had no financial recourse from government whatsoever. And we're asking government why have they not done what they need to do to limit further economical catastrophe or sabotage against our industry. We're back here again, it's 2021. And we really now need government to change the dialogue on this constant lockdown, the restarting and starting of the economy, the closing down of lockdown, reopening lockdown. We are here living with COVID. We need to find ways that we don't shut down the economy, and we certainly work towards finding solutions that allow the economy to trade properly and take responsibility not to have a problem with the lockdown.
Ms. Alberts, can I stop you there and say, what could government have done to mitigate the discovery of an entirely new variant? You're saying that some things could have been put in place by now. You're talking about vaccine mandates. What do you think could protect the restaurant industry?
There are very many different debates, the conversation that you asked me to take place here. But I think the key thing that I want to say is the commercial consequences that is impacting our industry has been imminent from the start of lockdown, and there hasn't been any support of our businesses. Imagine being a staff member who hasn't been able to work for 2 years, finally getting a job through this time, only now to be going on unpaid layoff as you've just started to work again. We don't have support for the unemployed in our industry. We don't have support for the vulnerable in our industry. And the irresponsible way that the press conference was handled without having enough information at hand to determine whether or not a lockdown is imminent or not should not be causing the threatened panic that it's causing in the country. It shouldn't be damaging the morale that we've tried so hard to rebuild, and the hard work that we've done to mobilize our industry and to rebuild it financially on our own doesn't need to get diluted. We certainly need to keep the economy going. We've now lost the whole ability for international trade to come in to bring some form of financial reprieve back to our industry, and now we're relying on the domestic trade, which has also been threatened. We will have dire consequences if we shut the industry down, and we cannot have government abdicate their responsibility to protect the economy of the country by just starting and stopping the economy. We need to find amicable solutions that can keep us trading while we live through the waves. And I go back to the beginning of lockdown. Lockdown was to prepare the healthcare system of the country. And government now really needs to take responsibility and prepare the additional beds, to prepare the extensions on the hospitals, that we have sufficient healthcare to protect the people who get sick, that the economy can continue to trade. Right now, the shutting off is causing far more difficulties for us as an industry.
Mr. Moore, what are you expecting? Possible curbs on the sale of alcohol, nothing, or even a possible ban tonight?
Francis, good evening. I don't want to preempt what the President is going to say. I'd rather talk to what I would like to hear him say. I think Wendy has a very valid point, just in terms of the communication. Our scientists have been applauded. I've been reading on the internet earlier today. Our scientists have been applauded by fellow scientists for giving the world an early warning about the new variant. But how we manage that communication is so important, because scientists are not only speaking to scientists, They're also speaking to international and local tourists who, in the matter of 48 hours, cancelled their travel plans. They're also speaking to foreign governments who, in 24 hours, decided to ban and include travel restrictions. So I think the first thing I'll be expecting the president to do this evening is to be more reassuring and to reassure business that we can continue to protect lives as well as livelihoods. I think that's the first thing. We'll also be reassured if we understand how this the discovery or the investigation into the new variant will play out over the next few weeks, and when will he speak to us again. More importantly, we'd like to hear him talk to what are we going to do to increase the number of vaccines and to address vaccine hesitancy. And then we'd like to see the president, if he does speak this evening, also include in his discussions taking business into his confidence, into the government's confidence when making decisions about our sector. So that's the key messages that we'd like to see coming out of the president's speech this evening.
Mr. Moore, given our low vaccine rate, various ideas are being put out there. I'd love your response to one of them, that maybe people shouldn't be able to buy alcohol if they have not been vaccinated. Some would say that the pushback would be incredible in a country where so few are vaccinated. But should the liquor industry be involved in sort of strategizing around something for the future?
Francis, that's a very interesting question, and it comes up time and time again. There are constitutional arguments at play, the right to choose versus the rights of those who are vulnerable and could be exposed to this virus if we don't get to herd immunity sooner rather than later. And that's a conversation that perhaps needs to be had, and it can't be just about alcohol all the time. More recently, we had a football match. A South African national team played, and the suggestion and the requirement for entry was proof of vaccination. But the government needs to lead this debate, and right now, government is leading these debates to corporates to decide how they're going to deal with their employees. That's the debate that government needs to lead. But what are we doing to address vaccine hesitancy? These suggestions that we've just had, or this communication that we just had, doesn't help, because people are starting to ask: is the new variant safe, or can the new variant be resistant to the vaccine? Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words there. Nope. But we need our government to say, let's not be hasty. Let's give the scientists some space to come up with those answers. Because vaccine hesitant people are saying, well, this is it. I was right not to take this vaccine. It's not going to protect me against a new variant. But the truth is, we don't know that right now, and the way it was communicated certainly leaves those who are hesitant in an even worse position.
Ms. Alberts, even if the government takes a light approach and waits for more information, perhaps doesn't restrict alcohol sales considerably, allows interprovincial travellers, we've seen before the curfew often changes. That in itself would have a big impact, I'm sure. Or could the restaurant industry survive if things are safe, if you rely on local travellers within the country and the curfew doesn't change too much?
We need to start having confident conversations with government where they engage with us and use the information we've had at hand for the last 2 years to find different ways of doing things. We find ourselves in a repeated pattern, doing the same thing over and over. Nothing changes except it's damaging to the economy. And it's also very damaging to the morale of the people that work in our industry. We're here to save jobs. We're here to move through the various levels of lockdown. It's always concerning for me that these waves are predicted, yet preparation isn't adequately done before we get to the waves that we get to. And there are many commercial consequences that's going to come as a result of this. We certainly need to have these conversations with government, and if they are going to shut us down unannounced again, there needs to be compensation. We cannot just have this abruption to our businesses all the time. There's involvement, there's the stop-start that goes on with our businesses, there's financial implications, we buy stock, we dispose of stock, there isn't adequate insurance that covers us, there's conversation with landlords, there's bank loans that need to be remedied, and then there is obviously the big question, obviously on the numbers. And when are we going to move through the stage where we have the healthcare system prepared that we don't need to turn on and off the economy, and especially the restrictions on restaurants? We should be applauded for the hard work we've done. Every time governments come to us, there's a tick list which we say we have done the protocols, we have adhered by the regulations, we've ensured social distancing, we've opened our restaurant outdoors, we've ensured ventilation, we have gone and we've educated on the vaccines and how important it is to vaccinate. And now we sit in a position now where with all the things that we've done, there isn't a compensated relationship with government to say, thank you, restaurant industry, you have done great work. We don't need to shut you down, it's not evident. And we keep blaming alcohol to remodel the behavior of the communities when the numbers start rising. All it does, it shifts the whole landscape of that underground, and we start opening up illicit trade. And it impacts our businesses because we lose the ability to trade through, to use the money to actually springboard ourselves to financial recovery.
All right.
And the black market then continues to trade without recourse.
We appreciate your time, and look, let's see what the President has to say, perhaps chat to both players afterwards. That was the CEO at the Restaurant Association of South Africa, Wendy Alberts, and the CEO of the SA Liquor Brand Owners Association, Kurt Moore.